Hi, I'm Becky and I started this website with my boyfriend Simon. We're both stroke survivors and I just wanted to tell you my story. So I had a stroke when I was 21. I was about 3 weeks into my final semester at university, so very close to graduating, and I'd just been got home from a week in Paris visiting a friend when I had to go to work, so unfortunately, I had to walk to work. It's about a half-an-hour journey, and about 15 minutes into the journey I began to feel a little bit lightheaded. A few seconds later I collapsed, and I remember people walking past me, which was very scary, and I think people thought I was drunk or on drugs, and to be fair I was outside a pub, but I was very lucky because two policemen pulled over and they realised something was wrong with me very quickly, called an ambulance, and I remember the paramedics arrived in a matter of minutes, or that's what it felt like anyway at the time. I don't really remember anything from that point until I woke up in hospital with my family and friends around me. It was a really scary time in my life and I didn't really know what was going on until I overheard somebody saying that I'd have, I think it was the nurse said, "Oh, she's had a stroke," and that was the first time I knew what had happened. But even then I didn't know what a stroke was, I didn't know what it meant, but it didn't take me very long to realise that I was actually paralysed down the left side of my body. So literally from my face to my toes, my left hand side was paralysed. I couldn't smile, I couldn't sit up in bed, I couldn't feed myself. It was so hard, I couldn't do anything really. I was in hospital for about 6 weeks altogether. I had 48 hours on an intensive care ward where the doctors told my parents if I had another stroke at that time I wouldn't have survived it. I then spent about a week on a stroke ward where again I was told that I'd probably never walk again, and however I was at 3 months would be how I was for the rest of my life. And it was actually during that time that I began to get little bits of movement back. So I remember the first time I was able to bend my knee while I was laying down in bed and things like that. And so after that first week I was moved to a rehabilitation ward, which is where I got some really intense physiotherapy. I was getting physio every weekday, which I think really helped in my recovery, because obviously the sooner you start getting treatment the better. I took my first steps about 2 weeks after my stroke. When I say I took my first steps, I was being held up by I think 3 different physiotherapists, but it was still one of the best moments in my early days of my recovery, because it really showed that, you know, I was on the right track, I was getting there, and you know, I really started to see the hope of being able to walk again properly one day. It's now been 3 years since my stroke and I still have difficulties with my left foot. I've got something called foot drop, which means I can't pick my foot up when I walk, so I have to wear a support. I also have quite severe difficulties using my left hand, and I can grip with it but I'm unable to extend my fingers. So once it's in a fist, my other hand, but I'll demonstrate with this hand, once it's in a fist I can't straighten them out again, so it's pretty useless really, unfortunately, but it's getting there, and I now have little wiggles in different fingers and thumbs and things like that. I don't really know what else to talk about. so much has happened in the last 3 years. My stroke was actually caused by a small hole in my heart, which basically let a blood clot pass through and reach my brain. I don't know what caused the blood clot, and they just say that it's down to a series of unfortunate events. So I'd been to Disneyland the week before and they thought I might have hit my head on a roller coaster, or it could have been the pressure on the Eurostar, or a contraceptive pill, or I don't know, there was a long list of things that they thought it could have been, but basically they felt that it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have this hole in my heart. Now 1 in 4 people, yeah, I think it's 1 in 4 people have a PFO, and everybody is born with it at birth, and in the 25% it doesn't close up, and most people will never ever ever have any problems with it, but in some cases it does let things like this happen. It took me 2.5 years to get the hole closed, but I finally had the operation in August. It was really scary, but actually I was sedated and I don't remember any of it, and I now can laugh at how scared I was because it just seems really silly. So what have I achieved since my stroke? I had to intermit from university, which meant that I had to drop out for the year, and I returned the same year as my stroke but the next academic year, so September 2011, to finish my final year. And I did this, I did it part-time, so I did my final semester over a year. I actually graduated with a first class degree, which was just incredible. And yeah, I started a part-time job just last February at a furniture store, where I was doing their marketing, and it was a 8-hour-a-week job, and I was doing 2 4-hour days because I couldn't handle the long hours. But I now work 3 days a week at the BBC, and I've moved to London, and I live with Simon, which is amazing, and I've kind of now realised why everything happened. And you know, I met Simon really coincidentally. I went to collect a cheque with my friend Jordan. I met at her father's work, and he'd raised some money for a stroke charity, and me and Jordan went to collect the cheque, and it just happened that we went into this room that Simon was sat in, and he mentioned that he'd had a stroke, and we were like, oh, let's like swap email addresses, and we'll, because I was keeping a blog and he'd written an article for Connect, which is an aphasia charity, and we decided to swap numbers, and it just, you know, it just felt right. And I think we have this like unsaid understanding of each other because we've both been through similar things. And yeah, really now I wouldn't change anything what happened for the world, and I'm happier now than I think I ever have been in my life. But don't tell him. I've also carried on doing things that I used to love before my stroke. So I've been to Glastonbury Festival. I went to Glastonbury Festival a few months after my stroke, and I went again last year. So the first time I went was in my wheelchair. And then I recently went on foot, and it was really tiring, but I managed to do it. About a year and a bit ago, I went to Thailand with some of my friends that I used to live with, and again it just shows that even though something so challenging can be thrown your way, I think with the right support you really can just get to where you want it to be in life, even if it wasn't the road you expected to take. And I hope that's what people see from this website, and they can realise that, you know, it is going to be okay, and you might have some ups and some downs, and it is difficult at times, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I just hope that this website really reaches out to some people who might be struggling, and that me and Simon and everybody who contributes to the website can just help them through a difficult time. I can't believe this is 10 minutes long now, I'm really sorry, but I could go on for longer, but I'm going to stop now. So thank you for visiting our website, and I hope you like it, and I haven't bored you too much with this video, which I feel like I have. Bye!